Joining me now is Congressman Adriano Espaillat of New York, chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Chairman Espaillat, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Don.
Coming to the Sunday show. So first, let me just get your reaction to President Trump saying it's totally normal. It's fine for me to fire inspectors general, even though Congress passed a law saying not like that.
Not like that. There are rules and regulations that must be followed. Inspector generals are there to ensure that they weed out, waste, fraud, and abuse and corruption. And it seems to me that perhaps he's looking to put his inspector generals in there that will side with him in a given conflict, or may look the other way when there is waste, fraud, or abuse. So certainly there is a process for this. He has a certain jurisdiction in terms of who should be an inspector general, but there are rules and regulations that follow how you should take them out and appoint them.
All right, let's talk about FEMA real fast, because it's just him just talking at this point saying, we should get rid of FEMA and then, we will decide, meaning he will decide where the disaster aid goes. He's the executive branch. You are from the legislative branch. Not only that, you are on the budget committee. And if I remember right, the appropriations committee.
Correct.
As an appropriator, how do you feel about that?
We hold the purse. Congress holds the purse, right? It's constitutional. Again, it's enshrined in the Constitution. And so while FEMA may need some reforms, I'm not of the agreement that it should be disbanded or done away with. It is an organization that has vast experience in handling disasters. We don't want to see an approach where one state will be favored over another, or where you may punish a particular state because they may be blue or red. We want to make sure that stays beyond politics. And the way to do it is to reform FEMA, but to keep it in place.
Let me get you on one more budget thing, because Russ Vought, who is Trump's nominee to be the head of the Office of Management and Budget, he's a big proponent of I think it's the impoundment clause, basically saying, hey, Congress, you've appropriated this money for these specific purposes, but we in the executive branch, we don't want to do it that way. We'll spend the money however we want. He's probably most likely going to get confirmed by the Senate. How willing do you think Congress will be to go to battle with the White House over its, as you just said, the legislative branch has the purse strings under the Constitution?
We have the purse strings under the Constitution. People voted for us because they understand that we have that power. And it goes directly to each of the districts that we represent. When we make decisions on appropriations, when we appropriate funding, we consider the conditions on each and every one of our districts and the country. And that's the way the democracy works. That's what's enshrined in the Constitution. So this new approach to government or budgeting, we will fight tooth and nail. I don't know, of course, if the Republican majority will choose to do that.
Well, and that's the key. It's all about the Republican majority. All right, let's talk about immigration. Basically, since the day after the inauguration, we have been seeing ICE operations, ICE raids happening all over the country, starting in Newark. Now they're happening in Chicago. Just your initial reaction to what the Trump administration is doing.
Sloppy, if not inhumane. Citizens have been stopped, detained, and questioned. A veteran was stopped and questioned. Attempts were made to go into a school, an elementary school. So this is a real sloppy approach to what he tries to implement, this new massive deportation. And we will be monitoring this as we move forward. We will be educating the public as to what their rights are. The public needs to understand what their rights are. And we don't want to see that kind of heavy-handed approach against American citizens, including a veteran.
The border czar, Tom Homan, has made it very clear that he's coming for sanctuary cities. New York City is, quote unquote, a sanctuary city. How will you protect New Yorkers?
Well, I feel very strongly that the concept of a sanctuary city has been misrepresented. People think that perhaps a sanctuary city is one that harbors or cuddles violent criminals. That's not the case. A sanctuary city is one that protects a woman that is a victim of domestic violence, and she will be able to go to the precinct without having the precinct commander call ICE on her, or a mom that takes her kids to schools her little boy, her little girl to school, and doesn't have to fear that the principal will call the authorities on her, or a senior citizen that will go to the emergency room and will be reassured that the nurse is not going to turn them in. It's a safety net for the most vulnerable in us, in our community. And I think people have misrepresented what a sanctuary city is.
What do you say to those? I mean, polls have come out that show that a majority of the American people are in favor of quote unquote mass deportations.
I think that will change. I think that there are three elements of the immigration debate that I think we should hold up to. One is dreamers, right? I think that dreamers should be regularized. They're nurses, teachers, small business owners, homeowners, farm workers, some of which are not going to work because they fear they're going to get deported. And they ensure that we get our food at the table and the prices are kept down. And then families. Families must be kept whole. Kids should not be split from their families. The minute any of these are fractured, I think the narrative will change, as it did last time. Mm-hmm. When we see a little girl, a little boy crying for their mom because they were split up and now they find themselves 3,000 miles away, I think America digs real deep into their heart and says, that's not who we are. So we'll see what happens, but I think the narrative will change.
I hope that narrative changes sooner rather than later. Let's talk broadly about Democrats. Democrats are in the minority, although barely, since the Republican majority on any given day at this point is either one seat or no seats. In the Washington Post today, there was a story that had a quote from Congressman Robert Garcia of California saying, we shouldn't be working with Republicans. If they've got the majority, they should pass stuff on their own. I'm paraphrasing the congressman. Now, on the other hand, you have Leader Jeffries saying, you know what? He, meaning Trump, is flooding the zone with a lot of things. We need to pick and choose our battles. Again, I'm paraphrasing, pick and choose our battles over how we go toe-to-toe with the administration. Where do you fall between those two?
You know, I understand that they control all houses and the executive branch, and some will argue that they control the courts. But in fact, they are the majority. They should govern responsibly. But we play a role in this. I think there should be a balance. Government always provides a balance for the American people. And we cannot dig our heads in the sand and make believe that that's not the case. We as Democrats will be able to deliver some victories to our constituencies, and we should not walk away from that.
Let me have you put on your hat as the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. How will the CHC fight against what President Trump is doing, not just on immigration, but in other areas that are of great import to the Latino community?
We will support anything that's good for our community and that stands for the values that we hold dear to ourselves, but we will oppose vigorously anything that we see is over the top, aggressive, and doesn't represent what the values are of our nation and our caucus.
Can you name an area where you believe that the CHC and the Trump administration could come to some agreement and work together?
Well, I hope that they're able to understand that we don't necessarily choose not to have a conversation about a stronger border, but we also want to regularize dreamers, help farm workers, and keep families together.
How's that going to be possible when the border czar has already said you want to keep families together? Well, then we'll just deport everybody in sort of mixed status households.
That will be un-American, in my opinion.
Un-American.
That's correct.
And if/when it happens, what's the Congressional Hispanic Caucus going to do? What can you do?
We will be in our communities. We will be in the corners, in the streets, in the barrios, in the neighborhoods of our districts, working with our community. On day one, when he was sworn in, I was with the Catholic Charities and a group of migrants and service providers to ensure that they know their rights, the do's and the don'ts. And we will be on the streets in our communities. We will be in the hallways of Congress. We will be in the courtroom.
How outrageous is it that the administration has said that schools, places of worship, and other places that were sanctuaries for people are no longer off limits?
Sensitive locations are as such. No one should raid a church, an emergency room, an elementary school, or a funeral home.
Congressman Adriano Espaillat of New York, chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Thank you very much for coming to the Sunday Show.
Thank you.